Right.
Are we ready to go
Hello.
contiguous?
Are we ready now to move?
Yeah, I'll introduce the members, Chair, and then I'll hand over to you if that's okay. So good evening. This is Burnley Council's Licensing Committee meeting on the 2nd of July 2020. In attendance are Councillor Arif Khan, who is the Chair, Councillor Frank Kant, who is the Vice Chair. Also in attendance are Councillors Howard Baker, Councillor Paul Campbell, Councillor Ivor Emo, Councillor Peter Gill, Councillor Sarah Hall, Councillor Shah Hussain, Councillor Margaret Lishman, Councillor Tony Martin, Councillor Asif Raja and Councillor Mark Townsend. In terms of officers in attendance, Joe Swift, Head of Street Scene, John Clucas and James Aston from the Environmental Health Unit, Emma Barker from Legal and Democratic Services, Christine Wood, who's the Democracy Officer this meeting, and Mark Hyman is streaming the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Officer. Good evening, everyone. It's Councillor Arif Khan chairing the meeting. I would like to welcome you all, and especially our new officer, Christine Wood, I spoke to her the other day. So welcome, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, so let's move on toward the agenda. Is apologies, please.
Apologies here, trying to get on.
Hello.
No apologies received, Chair.
Okay, yeah. Minutes of the last meeting. Can anyone move the minutes, please?
Yeah, I'll move the minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Councillor, and can anyone second the minutes, please?
I'll second, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any issues with the minutes? Any questions? Okay. Right. Item 3, additional items of the business. Is there any, officer?
None have been received, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Declaration of interest, item 4.
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Item 5, exclusion of the public.
As per agenda, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Item 6, public question time.
No questions have been received, Chair.
Thank you. Item 7, Licensing Act 2003, Burnley Borough Council licensing policy. So I hand over to the officer for their report, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's John Clucas here from the licensing team. I hope you've already received the relevant papers under agenda item 7. Basically, the council has got a duty under the Licensing Act to have a prepared licensing policy. This has to be reviewed and renewed every 5 years. The anniversary of that is in early January 2021, and part of the process is that we have to have a formal consultation. So I am seeking the approval of the committee to commence a period of formal consultation on the licensing policy, and then the results of that will be brought back to a future licensing committee meeting.
Yeah, thank you, officer. Right. Any questions?
Right, okay. Can you just ring her and tell her I will email her?
Any member, any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Right.
I'm putting in RTSs, is that not correct?
Sorry?
It is. Apologies, Chair. We just had a technical issue with one member who's now trying to get in. Yes, Councillor Baker, Chair, has raised a request to speak.
Okay, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions from the officer's report, John. It says in paragraph 3 that the pre-consultation, draft has been circulated to key members.
Yeah.
Are these the ones listed on page 33?
No, that's.
Who are they?
No, that's a good question. I sent that out to approximately half a dozen. I can't remember off the top of my head who that went to, but it did go to members of the licensing committee, not all
Ah,
members of the
right,
licensing
right.
committee. That was just to test the waters in terms of the content, and I didn't receive any responses to that. So that's why I've now brought it to this committee.
Oh, that was my question. I meant, did you mean nobody'd raised any objections, or were you saying that there were no responses, i.e. acknowledgement to receipt? And it sounds like the second part's that nobody acknowledged it, received it, or wished to comment then.
Silence was golden, councillor.
Okay.
I sent it out there and didn't receive any responses.
Moving on quickly. If this document goes out for consultations presented here tonight, and consultations lead to some major change to the policy, what process exists for a further consultation on any new proposals that might come back from the consultation? Do we go out again
I
for
think that would be.
consultation, or is that it?
I think that would be a decision that that you and your colleagues make at the next licensing committee. My experience in these matters is the policy is not particularly contentious, and it's not like there's a massive U-turn in terms of policy decisions. But ultimately, if you decided that when I bring the paper back to you as a result of those consultations, you did consider there was a major deviation in that, then it would be up for you to instruct me to conduct the consultation again. The downside of that would be then we would probably not hit your first of your January 2021 deadline.
Okay.
That is an option that you can take when I bring it back to you. If you consider that the changes that have been suggested are that radical that you think it completely changes the flavour and the scope of the policy, then you will be entitled to instruct me to send it out again for consultation. However, I would suggest that is unlikely to happen.
Right.
In as much as it's not a contentious policy, and it's not like a housing policy where you're giving planning permission but then you're taking it away. It's not a major contentious policy, but the option is there for you to instruct me to do that when I bring it back before your members.
No, it was more of the officers really, because the last couple of subcommittees, the officers have been a bit concerned that I think it was the DPS or the premises licence holder lived miles away. Therefore, wasn't going to. So I thought a change like that. However, just a quick one on section 13 actually, 13.3, I think it is, and it's about as far as I know, right at the bottom of the tree, if you will, is the personal license holder who serves alcohol. Right. If he subsequently, having got a license, subsequently commits any of the 17 offences listed in the Act, we don't seem to have any means, according to the policy, of removing that licence or calling it in. And I'm a bit concerned about that. I'm looking at number 13.3. It says we receive notice a personal licence holder has been convicted, notify the chief constable, and then he can object to the designated premises supervisor. But I'm more worried it's the fellow serving the alcohol that's causing the problem rather than the DPS. How can we not do anything about removing his personal licence? Because it says we can in the Act.
Yes, you can do that. I mean, you're delving into the contents of the policy, councillor.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were here for. Sorry.
If I just reiterate, I'm quite prepared to answer questions, but the purpose of this evening's discussion is to try and move it on so we can get consultation. If you want me to amend what I send out for consultation, I can do that, but that would create delays and delay the consultation.
Well, no disrespect, John, but it's got to be right. There's no point sending it out if we know it's wrong. I mean, there's nothing in there that says we can remove the premises, sorry, not the premises, the personal licence, or that can be queried or brought before a committee or anything. Should it be in before it goes out? That's all. If it's only one or two more paragraphs. I hear what you're saying. You only want approval for consultation, but the consultation's got to be on the right questions or the right points.
Councillor Baker, if I can just come in
Yeah.
there. the policy doesn't need to duplicate what's in the legislation, and in the Licensing Act there are means and ways of dealing with personal licence holders. There's various prosecutions can be taken. The court has the power to take away their personal licence. So I don't think it specifically needs to be specified in the policy, because that would just be duplicating the legislation.
I appreciate that, Emma, but can we not take their licence away from them? It's got to be gone through a court, hasn't it?
A personal licence, we can take action on a premises licence, but my understanding is that we can't on a personal licence.
Right. Okay. Just a point. If you're happy with it, fine. You know. But,
Okay. Right, thanks.
Sorry.
Howard. Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Is there anyone else with a question? Please say so.
No other requests received, Chair, at the moment.
Right.
Chair,
so
I did-
can sorry, if not, can anyone move the recommendation, please, as seconded here?
Chair, before it's moved, I did have my hand up to speak.
Yeah, by all means, yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify Councillor Baker's earlier query when he asked John if who had been consulted with the draft policy, and I can confirm that myself and I'm sure that you as chair
Yes,
were
yes.
also consulted with the draft policy. I only responded verbally to say that I'd read it, and I believe that you responded also. So just to reassure Councillor Baker. But just moving on, I would like to propose that we accept this policy for consultation. I will move that. Thanks,
Thank you.
Chair.
Can anyone second, please?
second it if no one else is leaping forward, Councillor Khan.
Sorry, is that been seconded?
I'll second it, Councillor Khan, if you can hear me.
Thank you, Councillor Harbour. So it's been moved and seconded. So this recommendation is approved. Next item is 8, review of private hire operator and vehicle license conditions. Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Chair,
back
do
to
we
the
not need a
officer
vote?
again, yeah. Back to the
Chair.
officer.
If I can just interrupt, Chair, if members
Sorry.
could just, it's been proposed in second, if members could just vote.
Vote,
On
yeah,
the-
please.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies, because of we are not in the same room yet. So yeah, all those in favor of the recommendations, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone against? No. Any abstentions? No. Right. So the recommendations are approved for further consultation. Now we are moving towards item 8, which is review of private hire operator and vehicle license conditions. So it's back to the officers, please, for your report. So is it Christine or James, John? Hello? Can't hear anything.
Waiting for James
John,
asking to move the
James,
report.
are you
shall we
there?
say?
I'm sorry, my screen is just frozen, Chair.
All right, yeah. So who's taking the report?
It's Mr. Aston that I think that should be presenting this report, Chair.
Sorry?
It's Mr. Aston that should be presenting this report,
All
Chair.
right, yeah. Okay, Mr. Austin, can you present your report, please? Are you there?
He just muted himself. It was
Oh,
like, we'll never get used to this.
yeah. Mr. Austin?
Is he actually on?
He is unmuted, but he doesn't seem to be
Oh.
coming through, Chair.
Yeah. Oh, it's James Austin. Yeah.
All right, so James is on, yeah.
Yeah. So, James, can you hear me? We are waiting for your report.
He's
Chair, if I can
speaking, but
just,
we can't hear.
Chair, if I can just interrupt, Jim, if you can turn your camera off, you may have a bandwidth issue. If you turn your video stream off. The audio will remain on. That
Okay,
that
okay.
might sort the problem out.
Video camera.
No, yours is fine. I think it's just James.
Yeah, just James. Yeah,
All
just
right,
James.
just give me. Okay.
I think he can hear, James can hear us, but I don't, we can't
Yeah.
hear him. I think that's what it is. That's the issue. James.
And,
Yeah, I know he's on.
Yeah,
he's on
he-
video
Yeah.
as well.
Can Joanne Swift move this report if we can't get back to James? Oh, I've gone. Everybody's gone quiet now.
We're all waiting for
back.
James.
I'm worried we might have to come back again next week.
Yeah, this could be a weekly thing for a full year, Mark.
I can confirm, Chair, that the audio stream is working on YouTube, but clearly we're having troubles connecting Jim. I'm just going to email, if you can hear me, Jim, I'm going to email you with some details for you to perhaps phone in to the meeting if your computer or the video and audio isn't working. So just bear with me, Chair.
Any look, Chris?
We send him an email.
I'm just sending through some details, Chair. Hopefully he can hear my voice, or you'll call him as well.
Right, okay.
Would it be perhaps appropriate, Chair, to take the next item while we get Jim back online, if John is
Yeah,
there?
I think that's a good idea, yeah, until he's back with us, yeah. So let's move on to item 9, to subcommittees, yeah. So is Imelda there?
No, Christine White, I
Oh,
think, is doing
Christine.
it.
It'll be
Chair.
Christine.
It's on as well.
Sorry, can you hear me, members?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Christine.
This is a report, the report to request approval from the licensing committee for the delegation of functions to a Licensing Act 2003 subcommittee and to a taxi licensing subcommittee, and for the appointment of licensing committee members to these subcommittees. And also that members be appointed to subcommittees on a rotational basis, subject to their availability, as you can see the recommendations in the report.
Thank you, officer. Thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
So all those agree with these recommendations? Can anyone move, please?
Sorry, Chair, can I move this then? And
Yes. thank
Before we
you.
go to the vote,
Yeah.
can we
And,
just, and somebody second
I'm
it?
looking for seconder, please. I can see Tony Martin if you can.
Yeah, I'll second it, Chair.
Okay, Councillor can second it. All
Okay.
those in favour of the recommendations, please say
Aye.
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 anyone against? No. Any abstentions? No, right. The recommendations are approved for item 9.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I think James Aston is with us. So let's check with Chris if he's back here. So
James, have you joined us by phone? I can see someone else has joined the meeting, but when individuals join by phone, it just gives them a caller identification. It doesn't tell me which officer it is.
right.
So
So
Jim, can you hear our voice?
Chair, I'm happy to take the report in Jim's absence, if that helps.
officer, if is it possible if she can read the
Present.
report?
Absolutely, Chair, yes.
Right, okay, the officer, go ahead. Yeah, if there's no luck with James.
Sorry, Chair, we haven't, the caller has joined again. Is that you, Jim?
It is, yeah.
Right, thank
All
you.
right.
Apologies, Chair. Jim's now in by voice on the phone.
So James taking it.
So can I suggest, Chair, that we go back to, is it item
8.
All right, yeah, okay, we are moving toward item 8. We missed it because of some communication problems, so the officer is back online. So let's go ahead with the officer for your report, please.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope you all had a chance to read the committee report relating to the private hire licence condition amendments. These are to ensure that the conditions reflect the modern day business models, in particularly so that they are in line with current planning policy, and also include call centre operations to provide comprehensive advice to prospective licence applicants and provide all the council's licensing requirements for operators and also for vehicle licences. I'm happy to take any questions from anybody, and also to explain any issues that anybody may have. You'll note from the copy of the committee report in Appendix A and B, Appendix A that is specific to operator conditions and pre-licence conditions, and Appendix B, which relates to private hire vehicle licence conditions. The significant areas of change have been highlighted in yellow. So if, other than that, the rest of the conditions remain the same.
Okay, thank you, officer. Any member, any questions to the officer?
no request to speak have been received, Chair, for this item.
Okay, thank you. Right, so can anyone move the recommendations, please, and second it? So if no questions.
Moved.
Right, yeah. And
Okay, I'll second it.
yeah, so Asif Raja seconded. So it's been moved and seconded. So all those agree with the recommendations, please show.
Aye.
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 Anyone against? No. Any abstentions? No, right. The recommendations are approved here. So
Thank you.
that's it. Yeah, these are the items. Is there anything else apart from these here? I know there's no any other business here. We covered all the items, and hopefully everything went smoothly on the internet systems, you know. So our apologies what happened last week. Yeah, so hopefully members of the public enjoyed our meeting. So get the better results in the future. Yeah. So
Chair, I can confirm the video stream and audio stream have worked correctly on YouTube.
okay, great. Thank you so much for everyone. Have a safe evening, and hopefully see you next time. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you didn't say next week.
Yeah.